What's up, guys? Dave from Betsome. Going to go over a few of my NFL daily fantasy lineups for week 3. Had a decent week 2, small profit. Most of my players did pretty well, but I missed on a few that really sunk me. And so for my GPPs at least. So I got off to a really hot start, was top 100 in a few big tournaments, but ended up barely min cashing a lot of them as a few of my players in each lineup just didn't pan out. But those are the breaks. So let's start out with quarterbacks for this week. I really like Russell Wilson at 7,100. He should be off the radar for most people, and he's had a pretty bad first 2 weeks. I think he finally shows up at home versus San Francisco. His defense should give him great field position throughout the whole game. I think they kill this game. I do like betting Seattle this game as well. I wouldn't worry about stacking him so much. Baldwin's shaky and injured and questionable right now. He can spread the ball out and he can run in touchdowns and yards and stuff as well. So I might stack him in a few lineups with Jimmy Graham, but I'm just going to make sure to have him in a decent amount of my lineups this week in general. Eli Manning at 7,000. I like the Giants' offense to finally show up this week after a subpar first 2 weeks at home versus a weak Washington pass defense. I think him and Odell finally go off this week. I think it'll be a somewhat popular of a play, but I think it'll be a good one to have in. Matt Stafford, 6,800. They're playing at Green Bay, and that's going to be tough. But this game has the makings of a definite shootout. And I think Rodgers will be somewhat high owned, and Stafford will be a little bit less owned. And I think he brings it versus that middle of the rank pass defense this week. Mariota, he was one of the guys who didn't kill me last week, but I missed a big lineup basically because he underperformed. But I'm gonna go with him one more week. I think that he will definitely be high owned this week as he's playing against Oakland. It was a terrible pass defense, but he's a great price, and I think he's going to show up big. And I'm gonna pick him one more week, I think, before I start shying away. As far as running backs go, I like Ezekiel Elliott, 6,900. He's down from 7,400, so he's a little bit better of a deal now. He is getting that 25 touches a game, rushes and receptions, and he'll no doubt break out sometime this year running behind that offensive line in Dallas. I think this is a very good chance for him to do so. He's at home versus the Bears, and he has had 1 TD per game so far, so they like giving it to him, and he can close. He's got a nose for the end zone, it seems. I think this game he continues that trend and adds some big-time yardage. DeMarco Murray is 6,300. He's home versus Oakland. That's a great spot for him to finally get back to his old self. I think that he gets more like 20 to 25 touches this game. He's been getting about 15 rushes and 7 targets for like 5 receptions a game. So I think he bumps those numbers up and has a solid fantasy game. I also think he'll be pretty overlooked. Frank Gore, 5,000. I'm not crazy about this play. He's kind of old, so he doesn't get the ball a lot, but this is a great matchup for him at home. He's got a nose for big plays in the end zone. He's their number one guy. The Chargers are the perfect defense to give Gore one more big game here this season. And I think if Indy gets up a touchdown or two, which I think they will, I think they're going to look to run Gore a little more than usual to keep Rivers off the field. I like Yeldon. I just like the Jaguars running backs this week. This is very strange though. He's gone up from 4,100 to 4,700 to 5,600 in the last 3 weeks, and he hasn't done anything. So I'm not sure why that is. I put here someone knows something, and it's not me. So I'm just gonna gamble on it. But I got my eye on him for sure this week. Jay Ajayi at 4K. I think that he's going to be a pretty good gamble this week for that price, as Arian Foster is banged up and questionable, and he probably won't play. And if he does, he'll probably only get a few touches. Miami is 9-point favorites at home versus the Browns, so Vegas is predicting a blowout here, and the home running back of the winning team will usually benefit from that. I think he finally gets his big chance this week, and he will be very low owned and cheap. As far as receivers go, I explained before, Odell Beckham, if you're going to spend anywhere, I like him this week. I like the Giants' offense this week. I think Jordy Nelson has been playing well. This should be a shootout, and so I would pick him right now before his price goes up too high. And Cobb's the same price, but I would lean Nelson. He's getting a few more targets a game. Sammy Watkins is 6,100. He's home versus the Cardinals. I think the Bills score 30 this game at home, and I think Watkins is a big game, and the Bills win that one outright. Deshaun Jackson at 5,900. I think that Giants-Redskins game is going to be somewhat high scoring, and I think if the Giants get up, then Washington ought to throw, and Deshaun Jackson should get like 9+ receptions in this game. And I still like Mike Wallace. I liked him in the first 2 weeks at 4,700. I like him now. He's had 2 really nice games, and I think he continues that trend as he develops a strong relationship with Flacco. At tight end, I like Delaney Walker. I think everyone's going to love Delaney Walker this week. He's home versus Oakland, and tight end is very thin. I think you got to play this guy, though, in at least some of your lineups, as I think that he's probably the best option. And as I mentioned before, too, Jimmy Graham might be a nice sneak play here for Seattle, Russell Wilson, and him to finally show up. Be a great time for this guy to remind us that he's still alive, once the best tight end behind Gronk in the league by far. So he's home versus the Niners. I predict a pretty big game for him and Russell Wilson. And while we're at it, versus those Niners, Seattle's defense, sometimes you just got to pay the price and pick what everyone's picking. I will be doing that with this defense, as it's hard to find a good defense, and they should get a few good turnovers. They got a strong special teams unit, and probably the best potential for pick sixes in the league. I also like Miami as 9-point favorites at home versus the Browns in a play that maybe not a lot of people will be playing. Maybe they will, but it's a big chance for Miami's high-paid defense to show up for some big defensive TDs. So those are my picks for week 3. Good luck, and join me next week for some more picks.